Hey guys, we're back.
Hello, hello,
Good local time.
hello.
Yo, yo, yo.
We're still alive.
Just about.
Grant, you look quite beautiful. What happened? You had a haircut, you shaved. What's going on, bro?
I ventured to the barbers for the first time in months. He's like, he took one look at me and like cancelled his next 6 appointments, I think.
Awesome. And you, Dan, how are you?
I'm going good. I'm still bone cold because it's still absolutely bone cold in the Goblin Cave over here in England.
Cool.
But yeah, going good.
Called Steve Austin.
I really enjoyed your newsletter yesterday. Well done. That was cool. Got a lot of fun. I wonder if Bitboy is gonna actually read it. I mean, he gets quite a lot of coverage, as if he's not been getting enough coverage. You gave him more, but it was obviously very relevant. Yeah.
If his name's on it, he's going to read it.
It's just interesting just to hear like the other side. Like, you know, I know we always, you know, people larp on about him and because, you know, he's a serial dumper and a serial larper, but the stuff he has actually been doing from like a social media like growth standpoint is actually genius. And like
genius.
When you look at like his crypto bill, how it is for the people, I'm like, man, like you cried wolf like one too many times. Everyone thinks you're a complete pleb, but what you're actually doing and trying to do here is actually quite good. Now, I know you've taken all the boys to the Bahamas for a couple of beers, you know, to try and find Sam, but I don't know. I'll be interested to see how this story unfolds and if you know Bitboy the bounty hunter is the one who can bring Sam down, because it looks like the New York Times can't, and you know big corporate lawyers can't. But if it's little Bitboy, mate, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm. So you know this whole spaces thing that's been going on, and you know we've obviously commented about it, and you know it didn't take long for the OGs and the people who are switched onto the space to realize that this whole thing is just an absolute LARP, and you know it's just grifters trying to grift. And anyway, so Kaleo posts last night and he's like, this thing is just absolutely ridiculous. And I respond and I said, dude, all the pain that you are experiencing right now, it is well deserved. You wanted to go in there, now you must deal with the consequences. And he responded. He never responds, bro. The dude has got like 500,000 followers and there's no ways he can keep up. And he responds and says, you're right.
I lasted 10 seconds.
I didn't even bother, bro, because I knew exactly what it was going to be, because I'd obviously followed a couple of the other ones before. It's very simply people who have no fucking clue what's going on. It's like kind of, you know, that video where there's that chimpanzee with the AK-47 in the Congo jungle, where they give like these soldiers give a chimpanzee a freaking AK-47. That's what these guys are. They've got an loaded AK-47, they're chimpanzees, and they have no idea what it is that they're doing. It's really that simple.
They're like, in those spaces as well, because they're all kind of egomaniacs. It's like they've got SBF in the middle, like tied to all these horses on the outside, and they're all just pulling in different directions. It's got nothing to do with the subject. It's all everyone just trying to get their point across about them. We were calling this out like 2-3 weeks ago. I think it's taken people a while to pick up on what the shadiness was happening there. But he's like, let's be honest, he's not going to take up the likes of Kobe and Ledger, or like, God forbid, ever he gets back on with Eric Voorhees, because he'll just tear him to shreds. He's not going to go on. He's not going to go in places which, one, he can't control, or two, he's smarter than everyone else in the room. So it's not going to happen.
Well, Eric said the Bankless guys made a post yesterday and they said, let's get Sam and Eric back on. And Eric responded immediately and says, got nothing to say to that
dude.
Enough has been said. We know exactly what's going on. There's nothing more to be said.
Yeah.
And it's like, but Bankless just are incapable of reading the room. I mean, that's the other thing. They might have a good arsenal of questions in all fairness and the rest of it. And they might want to cover this thing in the correct way, which I'm pretty sure they could, in all fairness, but they just don't know how to read the room. You know, it's like, and then, so you've got the egomaniacs, and then you've got the guys who can't read the room, who are trying to get, you know, the time with the guy who's completely playing everyone like a freaking fiddle at the moment. You know, like that's what he's doing. He's got the media behind him. He's got the suits behind him. It's just incredible to see how it's playing out. And there is nothing really more to say about it. The guy, the kids played with a whole lot of money in the bull market. They made it because it's easy to make it in the bull market, and the bear market came and they got rinsed. That's what happened, start to end.
It's pissed me off. So how much like I don't know why I get pissed off about it, because I know exactly what happens and shouldn't really expect anything different. But the way that like the media machine has just churned him out to be like someone who's made a mistake, we all know what's happened, and that's like not the case of what's getting reported. So I don't know why I have kind of so much blind faith in like actual journalistic integrity. So, but if people start following us early next year, you might see some kind of slight improvement on that aspect.
Okay, moving on. I'm very curious. Just moving on. I'm very curious to hear from you guys. What do you think is going to happen from the Grayscale perspective? Because I think that's something that hasn't really been spoken about over the last few days. Because there seems to be quite a lot of uncertainty. But what do you think the clues are indicating with regards to Grayscale? Dan?
No one wants to touch it.
No idea. No one wants it. Like it's so just too risky. Just too risky. But what's interesting over the last few days, you've kind of like we had the big drama last week of like the capitulation and the whole FTX thing. Then it kind of like went quiet. Then it kind of just like pops its head up again. And it almost feels like we've almost like moved on almost completely from the drama. And like when it was happening, it was oh my god, this is gonna drag on. I was like, no, dude, this is crypto. Like next week there'll be something else.
It'll take way longer to play out than we think.
Do you think there are, Grant? Do you think there are like fundamental like demons and skeletons in that closet, or do you think it's something that will be addressed? They'll be able to address. Is it really that bad?
It's like everyone we know who was perceived to have done particularly well was leveraged up to the tits. And obviously, and like the GBTC, BTC loop that you could effectively do, that's probably another play on that. There was a lot of like I wish we could fucking do this, but there was a lot of like parent kind of daughter loans going back and forth, obviously with FTX and Genesis and DCG and things like that. It's just like that's definitely a like financial loophole that everyone's very privy to and is being exploiting so much. And as I say, it might work when everything's going up and you can kind of cover your tracks by like management fees and new participants picking up your products and stuff like that. But again, when the tide goes out, you can't get away from it. It's numbers. It's like it just doesn't work. It's weird.
So essentially what you're saying in summary is that there's a whole lot that's going to come out in the wash with Grayscale. It's just a question of not if, but when.
That's it. So. One of like sorry, go on, Dan.
I was going to say, like, that for me, in my mind, that's the last capitulation. That is what wicks us down, like, low, because you can't have all these, like, fingers in the pies of, like, FTX, Genesis, and then, Grayscale, where only one fails. Like, if they're all, like, interlinked, and they're all interlinked with, like, what? I don't know, like 9, 10, 11-figure bags, like it will have that knock-on effect. It's just how fast that knock-on effect has. And I've said it in our Discord a few times, like in my mind, that's the last point. That is the flush out. That is just like, boom.
Well, the tourists are leaving the resort right now. That's what's happening. And unfortunately, even some of the locals are getting taken out with the tourists. But we do need this. I think it's quite necessary. I know it sounds really weird to say that, but anyways.
This is where AOL transitions into Firefox, and then Firefox transitions into Google Chrome. That's kind of like the stage we're at.
Yeah.
Gents, I don't want to do this, but I have to go. I've got another meeting. But one final point from me. kudos to Trader Joe and CryptoFish and all that team for migrating to Arbitrum as well as Avalanche. That can't have been a tough decision given they're like the blue chip on Avalanche, but it's business. They've got mouths to feed.
Are they going to stop doing business? Are they stopping business on Avalanche? They're doing both. Okay.
They'll still be there. Like they should, because of this new liquidity book, it's probably the only UniV3 competitor really
that's its own technology. Uni needs challenging because of all the shit that's starting to come out about it, even though it's a great product. But they're the only ones who can challenge it, because what I heard this week as well is the UniV3 license that effectively doesn't prevent it from being forked, but you have the right to kind of pursue legal action if it was forked. That finishes in April next year, but within that contract, the DAO can quite easily spin up a vote last minute to extend that license for another 2 to 4 years.
Wow. Okay.
So kind of bullish Joe, to be honest, if they're going to start deploying everywhere with their new concentrate liquidity model. And yeah, just like kudos, because like they could have quite easily sat on our Avalanche and waited for something that might never happen. They've got to keep their business afloat and continue to expand. They've got effectively stakeholders and equity holders with Joe token, and probably equity holders as well. So they're just a great team. And despite me absolutely loving Avalanche as well, I think it's necessary. But I'm gonna have to love you and leave you. So
we'll see you later, dude.
Right. Make sure this doesn't end the recording if I leave.
No, I started it, so it won't.
All right.
See you later.
Catch you in a bit.
See you later, dude.
So I want to also chat about, I mean, typical, he comes in, gives us a whole lot of cool stuff and then leaves. And then leaves us on our own.
But what I love and what is so special is what he just said over the last 38 seconds is huge. And I love the tone of his voice. Like, I just want to say a good kudos to it's like, dude, this is big. Like Trader Joe, who's just they're expanding. It's huge. Like the biggest player on AVAX. It's one of the big boys, especially in that bull run. They're coming over to Aribtrum, was it? That's huge.
So
I want to see when Andrew Saunders gonna pump the Joe bags.
Well, I mean, that's what Andrew's going to do, right? I mean, Andrew's going to give them the time of day. I mean, it's actually quite incredible that it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, though. I think that's going to be really interesting to see how well received they're going to be on the Arbitrum ecosystem. But it really, I mean, the liquidity is definitely sitting there at the moment. I mean, kudos to the other ecosystems that are grinding it out. I mean, you've got, the Cosmos guys. Like, I don't know much about Cosmos. I've been pretty much really look on the outside looking in, and then the more people that I speak to, the more, I realize that, you can't fade the Cosmos guys. I know that you've been quite bullish about them for a long time, but I did an interview yesterday with Viktor, the CEO of RockawayX, and they they provide infrastructure liquidity and they're a VC as well. I mean, they got in early on pretty much everything. And he was talking about Cosmos, and he was saying that those guys, they're predominantly devs and they just can't be faded. And it's if you're looking to plan for the future, then Cosmos needs to be on your list.
Yep.
And you need to look at them closely.
Like Cosmos is one of those chains. It was built by devs for devs. So the reason you didn't really hear about it too much in the early days is because devs were just doing the devin stuff, right? They were building really cool gigabrain stuff. And then I think what happened, you had some people who were smart, high-level investors kind of understood the tech and could see the potential. Then I think that started to bring in the degens in it, and then it's just it's very, very slowly growing, which is good to see. And I think that slow growth over time is something that will benefit them a lot, because the way they're building it is just going up and up and up and up. It's cool. Like, they've got some cool stuff. But here's a question for you. Why do you think Arbitrum has been so successful?
I think it's a combination of things. I think the predominant reason is that Arbitrum managed to capture the Ethereum whales from the first day. And what happened is that there were projects that were originally released on the Ethereum blockchain that moved across because gas prices were so high at the time. Transacting on Ethereum was such a painful process. Examples of those projects primarily were the DPX, with the DopeX ecosystem or protocol. So DopeX, RTPX, obviously options. That whole ecosystem, I think, was a big driver. I think what's his name, the orca whale. Can't believe I've just forgotten his name.
What,
Tetranode? Yeah, so Tetranode, I think, played a huge part in that whole narrative in terms of, guys, we've got something that's pretty much the same as Ethereum. In fact, it is like Ethereum. In fact, it is Ethereum, and it's like 1/100th of the price. It's faster. It's better. We're going to go and put DopeX on there. Come play. And I think that was one of the big reasons why it started off. And then a lot of those Tetranode projects or Tetranode endorsed projects started doing their thing. There was the NFT Perps thing. There was the NFT side of it. There were a couple of other projects that came in as well. And there were a couple of really good launches as well on Aribtrum, and that was the momentum. The whale money came in. I mean, it was like, and then also Magic was another one, like that's the whole gaming side of it. I mean, Magic was a very big player in the bull market, and it was on Aribtrum, and then that momentum was there. The whale money was there. As soon as you got liquidity, then you get guys like, like their marketing team started ramping it up. And that, I think, is the reason why Arbitrum was successful. And now it's kind of like one thing leads on to another. And if the money's coming in and liquidity is getting concentrated and people are going to chase liquidity. So good marketing, good projects, and liquidity all coming together. It's the perfect recipe.
And what do you think happens when airdrop?
Wow. When airdrop, a very good question. I think the obvious answer is that it's going to go ballistic, but I think the real challenge here is how do they capitalize on that, and how do they continue to create a perfect storm around that? I don't think it's just about that. I promise you, the way that Arbitrum have gone about this whole thing, and if you watch that interview that Grant did with Mr. Saunders, they think very carefully about the way that they go about their business. And they're not just going to do an airdrop. They're going to do an airdrop with a whole lot of other stuff that they can throw into the mix. Watch. I'm telling you right now. Mm-hmm. So unless that stuff is ready, I don't think that they will proceed with the airdrop. No, what do you think? What do you think when airdrop?
It's one of the big things. I think everybody's anticipating it, and I'm in agreement with you. I don't think they're going to do it the normal way. I think there is going to be some kind of like big gigabrain way of doing it that doesn't just lead to token price going down. I think they must have a big broader plan in mind to keep or to promote people to actually hold it, because we're obviously in a bear market, and if you get like 10k of free tokens, you're going to dump it quite quick. So I'm super excited to see how they go about it.
Dan, I don't know whether people are going to dump it that quickly. I mean, I know that the statistics show that I mean, the fact that you and I both agree on this point is enough reason that probably the majority of people are thinking the exact same thing. Is that why would I dump something that has shown tremendous value and has shown continuation around marketing around the very principles of what it is that they're doing? Like that's what creates a really good environment for holding on to something. And I think maybe that's also what they're trying to cultivate.
Yeah. Interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's also a lot of interesting projects. Like, I mean, we're working with the Maya DAO, which have Hermes on the Metis ecosystem, and they're super cool guys. I mean, the kind of stuff that those guys have done is that they've effectively, taken the principles of Ohm and they've created their own protocol. We're actually busy with an article at the moment that, obviously Emery's busy, like really digging deep into that, and we're going to be releasing that quite soon. So, I mean, that's a shameless punt for Emery's article, but they're moving to Arbitrum as well. So they're going to take their product and they're going to take it to Arbitrum as well. They're planning to do that in the new year. So they seem to think that they're going to have their audits done by the middle of December, and then they're looking to move, that aspect of their project onto Arbitrum, so they'll operate on both ecosystems. And I think what we're going to see going forward is that good projects will be on multiple ecosystems. That's what is going to be the norm going forward. So yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to getting the Hermes guys on, chatting to them. We interviewed Eric, one of the co-founders of Metis. That was actually a really cool interview. Like, it's not often you meet a co-founder that's just so like humble and just so composed, and like, this is my mission, this is what I'm doing, and it's like, it's unwavering, like the guy's totally got his eyes on the ball, and this is what my mission is, and there's no ways that it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, there's just certain guys that they just know what they're on about and why they're there. It was actually really cool to interview him. And I mean, it's so difficult to get a co-founder on anyways, it doesn't matter who they are. And then when you meet them and it's just completely chilled, like, it's like really refreshing. Like, and then just speaking about ecosystems, like, has anything actually significant happened on Avalanche over the last 3 to 6 months? I'm not aware of that much besides what the Trader Joe guys have been doing. I know that they did a version 2 of their offering, and now they're taking that to Arbitrum, but I haven't really seen much else. I know that Platypus has been doing stuff, but that's just day-to-day business.
I think there's like a lot of like games, because I know Ava Labs, they heavily like incubate and sort out like gaming projects. I was always thinking like Avalanche was going to be the network for games in GameFi, but I don't know if they're all just like going really slow, or it's just taking a little bit too long. Like, Avalanche doesn't look sexy anymore. I think Trader Joe was the thing that made it look sexy. And kind of like looking at everything that's going on now, and I hate to keep saying it, but it does look like Arbitrum is pulling away in the GameFi space, with all these new launches that are going there. And it seems like Magic is that central point that's, bringing things together. And like, I'm not really an NFT person. I don't always quite understand them. For me, it is just a profile picture that costs an absurd amount. But the NFT community over there as well is just, it's on fire. Like, even during the big crash, you didn't really see too much of like a dump over on Arbitrum, which was kind of cool. But I think they're capturing some very cool markets.
So I've just gone to Defi Llama just to check volumes on the different chains. So if you look at the...
Do you want to bring it up? Because I was going to ask you about Polygon as well, because I think that's a sleeping giant that people are fading.
Yeah, I'll bring it up now. Just getting it on one of the many screens that I have here. So if you look at the 1 day, 24-hour volume, Ethereum, you're looking at 1.2 bill. And then you've got BSC, which you can expect. But I mean, look at the difference between Ethereum and BSC. It's like it's a sixth of what Ethereum is doing. You know, and then Polygon, there you go. There's your Polygon at 157 million. Yeah. And then Arbitrum at 116 million. Optimism. I'm surprised that Optimism is doing those volumes, to be honest. I mean, kind of like
the airdrop. Second phase of the airdrop's coming.
Okay, so that explains that, you know. And then Avalanche at 38 mil. Hecker, I mean, obviously Phantom, we had that article. I mean, it's quite a newsworthy thing that, you know, Andre Cronje basically coming out of his basement and saying, you know, this is what I'm doing. I'm the CEO of this company. And he wrote that Medium article in terms of presenting Phantom as essentially a company. And he goes through the financials, which was quite interesting, but not really sure what he planned to achieve about that. Well, what his plan was around that. But it was still interesting to see how maybe this is a new approach. Maybe it's could be a narrative for the future. You know, accountability, proper financials. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. This is how we cut back on expenses. I found it really, it's an interesting article worth checking out. You know, so Phantom's still doing $19 million in transactions.
That's not bad. That really isn't bad. But it is. Look, there's your there is your literally your top. Well, we all know Ethereum's the top one, but there is your top three: BSC, Polygon, and Arbitrum. And I think over the next 6 months, it's going to be or even like the next 3 months, it's going to be very interesting to see how Polygon and Arbitrum go and how they capture more volume, because Polygon, their business development team and what they've done and the partnerships they have could potentially like absolutely skyrocket it. I think if Polygon and GMX do formulate that little partnership that's going through their governance proposal at the moment, that seriously does open up a lot of potential. And I think that catalyst will really boost, obviously, GMX, but I think it will make people go over to Polygon and actually try it and use it. The biggest thing was like Polygon's teamed up with the Robinhood app, right? Robinhood app is just like millions upon millions of, you know, degens. Now, if you give a million degens or, you know, 2 million degens a thumbs up and a high five to go and use 100x leverage on a platform or on their ecosystem that they're using and they're familiar with, mate, that is just going to potentially do wonders and just do some magic.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, those are very good points that you raised, and it will be really interesting to see how it's amazing how like GMX is completely set almost like the precedent for the way that business needs to be done, you know, from a traditional finance perspective, bringing it into, you know, the decentralized space. It's actually fascinating to see how they are essentially creating the foundation for that kind of stuff. In terms of trading and in terms of products around trading, obviously our sponsor and our good friends at Hero are about to launch their pari-mutuels product. Now, let's not get caught up in this word, because we're going to get Gunny on. But I played with this thing last night. Dude, you know how this thing works, okay? So how it works is that it essentially allows you to place a bet on different time frames as to whether the price of Bitcoin is going to be up or down. And you can bet from a USDC perspective. So you can either bet up or down. Dude, it's the ultimate freaking roulette, this thing, I promise you. It's like taking the whole trading thing to a whole new level. I mean, it's like DGen version 5, and it's super easy. And you can do 1 minute time frames, 5 minute, 10 minute, 15, 30.
God. Dude, I'm not doing the 1 minute time frame. Now it's like pulling me out. Like it's bad enough when like the FOMC news comes out and you're watching the 1 minute chart and it's just like that, and you're just like,
oh, dude, I wish I could show you. I mean, I can't. I can't
not yet. Not yet. Save it. We'll get Gunny on and we'll do like, you know, proper perpetuals for plebs or plebs for perpetuals.
I promise you, this thing. this thing, and you know what the cool thing about it is that if you're staking on the network like you would with GLP, with GMX, you earn, as a collective, you earning, I think it's 3% of the fees. Like, so all the fees, I mean, this thing is going to literally print. I mean, you do $1 billion a day in volume, and stakers are going to do really well with this thing. I mean, it's potentially GMX on steroids, you know, from a hero perspective, like from a hero token perspective. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this thing plays out as a trading tool. So yeah, keep your eye on that. It's going to be really interesting.
But is that just a closed beta at the moment?
So it's in beta at the moment. They obviously wanting to test whether it works. I mean, they're just checking it out, but it seems to be working fine. I mean, I was on it for a couple of hours last night and actually made a whole lot of money as well. It's just a shame. It's hypothetical, you know. It's not the real thing. So you can do strategies as well. So you can do strategies as well, but you can sit down and it's like a freaking video game, dude. It's no different. And it's like they're also going to be introducing a bot that will auto trade for you, and then you can actually put in the parameters of how you want to strategize the whole thing as well. It's like they really are putting out something pretty cool. It's like it's a lot of fun, and you can make money doing it. You know, like you can play small bets as well, so you don't get too out of hand. So that's coming. We're also going to do an article on that as well, obviously. So it should be quite cool, like in the coming week. I mean, I know December's here and things are going to slow down, I think, quite a bit. But what's interesting is that we're still speaking to a lot of projects that are coming through and, you know, want stuff done and are speaking to us. And there's a lot of really cool stuff coming up. I think the new year is going to be quite positive from that perspective.
I think we're just going to speed up. Like, I know it's Christmas. I think people have like a couple of days off over Christmas, but I don't see things slowing down at all. Like, people, we always say like builders are building, but builders really are building. And I think they're at the point where things are almost built, where you need to go into like that next phase of, you know, whether it's marketing, whether it's promotion, whether it's, you know, outreach or whatever. I think a lot of them are going to be entering that phase over the next couple of weeks. And I think the lead up to Christmas is going to be just like busy as anything. Have a couple of days off for Christmas. Enjoy your turkey, you know, enjoy your little pigs in blankets. But then I think it is just full send into that new year. And I know I keep saying it's probably getting annoying, but I'm just so bullish on where we're going right now in the space. You know, ignore token prices in whatever, but the way you see it when you're in deep and you see what's actually going on behind the scenes and you see the projects that are launching and the ideas that people are having with the teams that are building behind it, it's just, you couldn't not be bullish. And I feel bad for the people that have got wrecked to the point where they've actually just left the market now. If you have got wrecked, dude, it absolutely sucks. But this would be the time just to like nut up, you know, head down. If you've got to do whatever you've got to do in like the real world or even in the virtual world to keep getting those magical internet beans coming into your life, so that when you do, or when the momentum turns to the upside, you're going to be one of like 7 people that are going to literally completely change your life, because we're in such a unique position where we've gone through that last bull run. You know, mistakes were made, you know, things went right, things went wrong, that we're taken into the bear market. So we've got that mentality that when it comes out, it's just going to be a full send, man. I'm so passionate about it. It's ridiculous. It really is.
I totally agree with you. I mean, it really is. I mean, interviewing Viktor yesterday, like, I mean, this, you need to understand, like, you know, you get people who are participating in the space, and then you get people who are participating in the space. You know, this guy runs a $500 million US, you know, company. You know, like, this is not small money. It's significant money. They are invested in the infrastructure, and they run validators for 3 ecos: ETH, Cosmos, and can't believe the last one, and Arbitrum. Sorry.
Mate, Solana has to be
Solana. And Solana, yeah. Sorry. Brain fart. And I asked him the question. I mean, it's actually a really good interview because there's so much alpha in it, and it's not alpha that you didn't know about. It's alpha that is staring at you in the face, and it's very simple. Like, so firstly, they were in early on Uniswap. They were in early on Solana. They were in early on so much stuff out there, and they're still in, so this whole idea that, VCs come and they dump, this is not how these guys operate. These guys look at the long term. They look at where are the long-term players in the space, from infrastructure to providing liquidity to investing in projects and actually being a part of a project with the founders. They don't do the whole pump and dump thing. That's not their philosophy. Their philosophy is that we want to build a new technology that's going to be here and redefine the way that we do business. That's their fundamental approach to this whole thing. And he was saying, first of all, in terms of deal flow, they don't have capacity at the moment. He said they have over 140 projects that are waiting for their feedback that they've shortlisted. That's the first thing, right? And what they could potentially provision funds to. Secondly, what he really put into context for me is that you have a scenario where in 2013, it was all about speculation and trading Bitcoin. That was the narrative. In 2017, 2018, the narrative was initial coin offerings and the speculation aspect. Then you look at what happened over the last 2 years, and it's a completely different ballgame. You got NFTs. NFTs, he believes, is probably one of the most significant things in terms of being able to prescribe value to not just a JPEG, but to a whole lot of things, from real world items. I mean, we just published an article on LandX, which is taking, property and then putting it on the blockchain and having essentially an arbitrage between land and the value of that land in the blockchain space. And games. So the whole gaming thing, he believes, is like a huge thing, the same as what you and I believe. So he put that into context. And then he looks at all kind of like the financial stuff, from perpetual trading to trading, and then also the financial services and individuals being able to operate within a DAO structure and to be able to take corporations and companies onto the blockchain for full accountability and full transparency. And then he talks about this stuff, and it's like, okay, so that is actually the big picture, and how it's going to play out. They get to play in that space, and then we get to obviously tell people about all these ideas and how these ideas are being formulated and how it all comes together. So it'd be very difficult not to be bullish about the space and how significant it can be, and where it's going into the future.
Mate, I am looking forward to that one dropping.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think, even though it's been quite I think the last 6 months have obviously been like very challenging. We've seen some incredible innovation come through. I mean, one of my favorite projects at the moment is, without a doubt, what the Tapioca guys are doing. Not only from a product perspective, but from a community perspective. There's some solid foundation going into that, and I think in many ways they're almost like for me anyways, they're like the kind of project that, if you're going to run a project, this is how you run it. From a governance perspective, from a community perspective, from engaging with everyone. I mean, they just know how to deal with people. It's just been really interesting to see, and a lot of lessons have been learned. I'm really looking forward to what Tapioca are going to do.
Yeah.
We're going to get them on. Just finding time with them is very difficult, but we're going to get Matt on. I mean, we had Matt on the other day as a drop-in, but I want to sit down with Matt and get into some of the gigabrain stuff. I mean, I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, these guys are essentially going to potentially redefine the way that liquidity is provisioned within the DeFi space. I mean, that's what they're endeavoring to do. They're going to literally change the whole game.
Yeah, I made this tweet on Twitter yesterday, And it kind of like hit me. Like we speak about Tapioca quite a lot. Like their community is absolutely buzzing. Their tap talks, dude. They've gone from like, you know, like 20 people all the way up to like 500 people. And they're interviewing like some of the most prominent big people actually in the space. And then you're like, but they haven't even launched. There is no token. They're like, they're still building, but they've done all of the hard work to start with, which is the community, which is getting the hype in there, which is making their product look sexy. All they've got to do now is just make sure the tech works, which it definitely will, because the Gigabrain devs behind it are just like geniuses and Einstein and whatever. So yeah dude, like you almost couldn't be bullish on that. And I would love like projects moving forward to look at them as almost like a blueprint or like a playbook as to how to this is probably a big statement, but like how to make your project successful before it launches. The Dummies Guide 101, right?
And
like,
to do it in the bear market, dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then to create like, and then to redefine the way you're going to do an airdrop with like an OTAB tap option. It like we said before, it was staring you all in the face. Instead of giving people loads of tokens that people dump, give people the option to exercise a cheaper rate. And if they don't want it, give it to your mate across the road.
Yeah. It's genius, isn't it? It's like, why must I give you free stuff, but I'll give you a discount instead?
Yeah.
And keep it interesting from that perspective. And I love it. I love what they're doing. I love their tokenomics as well. I think their tokenomics is hugely significant. A lot of people don't like their tokenomics because it essentially forces you, as someone who's in early on the project, to stick around. You can't dump. It's impossible to dump their product. But my thinking is, why would you want to dump it if you are going to land up earning good returns on a product that's going to be earning really good fees based on the fact that you're going to be deploying on 13 chains? We just looked at what the numbers were on these chains. You know, you've got from a 24-hour volume from $1 billion all the way through to $20 million on the top 10 chains.
It's huge.
And they are essentially going to be doing business on all those chains potentially. It's going to be super interesting to see how this thing plays out in practice.
Business across 13 chains.
I know, it's insane. That's insane.
That's not like you build on AVAX and then you move over to Arbitrum, then you move over to the Cosmos, and then you go to BSC just because you're going for a quick punt over there. Like you are unleashing absolute chaos on day number one. Right when you hit the go button, you have 13 degenerate communities all having the ability to log on and log into your project, mate. That like the more I say and speak about it, and you did a really good thread about this, but what LayerZero are actually gonna allow is it's gonna be F-bombing brilliant. And it's like what Polkadot and like Cosmos was supposed to be way back when, like 6 or 7 years ago. Like LayerZero have just or we'll see if they have, but like potentially nailed it, made it look sexy, and bringing on some badass projects on top of it, building on it.
You know what we need to actually just make mention of again, which I think is really needs to be applauded, is the fact that Bryan Pellegrino, in all his genius and all his wisdom, approached FTX and Alameda at the time. He saw the storm coming and he bought out what it is that they had as part of that whole project of the LayerZero project and Stargate. And he bought them out. I think it was $110 million. He said, you know what? We do need this money, but we've got money, so we're going to do this because we think this is for the long term the best thing that we can do for our business. They bought all those tokens back from those guys, and then 3 days later the guys filed for bankruptcy.
That's a guy.
Genius.
That is a guy who backs himself, but more importantly, backs his project and the tech he's doing, to write a check for $110 bajillion to like get your full ownership back, mate, that is inspiring. And I think we're going to be seeing more of these stories over time in this bear market. And these are the people that, you know, you'd feel confident putting money into and letting it sit. So more of like a buy and hold position, one of your longer positions, because, you know, the guys are just proving that they care and that they're in this for the long run. They're not going to do, you know, a quick pump and dump, like, you know, I obviously won't say any names, but like, yeah, that's big, especially during max fear and max pain for people.
I think that LayerZero is a game changer. It now just needs to be executed in the correct way with the right projects. I mean, there's Interswap as well. We know that they're also building at the moment. There's a couple of others. There's, I think, Entangle as well. Entangle also, they're also LayerZero. So these projects are all going to land up offering what bridges are offering at the moment, but obviously across a lot more chains. A lot easier, a lot safer, you know, from a security perspective. It's the way to go. I'm surprised. I don't even know if bridges are going to exist after this. I mean, it would be interesting to get the other side of that conversation, maybe bring in somebody who is not particularly bullish on LayerZero and find out why. You know, we need to do that and actually bring someone in. I don't know if anyone like that exists, but could
so
be
if you're a LayerZero goblin, drop into the DMs or leave a comment. We'd love to have a chat.
Yeah, totally. Okay, is there anything else on our list of things to do this morning?
I think we've covered a lot of the big topics as well, you know.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see how also the market plays out towards Christmas. You know me, I'm a raging bear at the moment. I think the narrative supports my perspective on things. I know that you kind of expecting Santa Claus to come out without his suit on and entertain us. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we are in for more of the same unpredictability.
Yeah.
You know, obviously scalpers are making an absolute killing in this market.
I think the two biggest dates you're going to be wanting to look at is obviously the 13th and the 14th of December. 13th is when the FTX and SBF, they go to trial, go to court and like have a big chat. The 14th will be the FOMC meetings. Now there's I think it's reached an 80% probability of 50 basis points. But what I was thinking, and you know, this wouldn't surprise me, is if Jay Powell said all those good words to make the market pump, to then just be like, when it comes to the FOMC, it's like, look, dudes, like we're still not out of the water. We are going to do 75. And if they do 75 on the 14th, that is what will probably likely tank the market, because it wasn't what they were expecting and it wasn't what was priced in, because now people are looking for a pivot. Now, will they pivot after 1 month of good, you know, macro numbers? It would be very hard to see them doing that when they've been so focused on trying to put this storm out. Like a lot rides on those 2 days. And I think if we can get like a mini bull run for like the next 2 weeks, that's mental. We say a bull run for 2 weeks. It's stupid. But if we see some up for the next couple of weeks beforehand, I think that will be cool. But it's those 2 dates I think traders and, you know, market makers will be massively looking for.
So I don't know. I don't really have a comment on that. But before we leave, I'd really like to bring something up that I found really interesting and just quite surprising, really. I don't know if you saw this. Coinbase. You might have noticed that you can't send NFTs on Coinbase Wallet iOS anymore. This is because Apple has blocked our last app release until we disabled the feature. Apple's claim is that the gas fees required to send NFTs need to be paid through their in-app purchase system so that they can collect 30% of the gas fee. For anyone who understands how NFTs and blockchains work, this is clearly not possible. Apple's proprietary in-app purchase system does not support crypto, so we couldn't comply even if we tried. This is akin to Apple trying to take a cut of fees for every email that gets sent out over open internet protocols. The biggest impact from this policy change is on iPhone users that own NFTs. If you hold an NFT in a wallet and on an iPhone, Apple just made it a lot harder to transfer that NFT to other wallets or gift it to friends or family. Simply put, Apple has introduced new policies to protect their profits at the expense of consumer investment in NFTs and developer innovation across the crypto ecosystem. Something to think about this weekend. You know, you've got $1 trillion company, essentially the biggest company in the world, who has no idea how the blockchain works. That's essentially what this is.
Solana Mobile.
You said it. Solana Mobile. Yeah. You know, people have made fun of Solana and their mobile phone. Look who's making fun now. Anyways, it's insane actually that they don't understand the fundamentals of how blockchain works. And I think the summary is, this is akin to Apple trying to take a cut of fees for every email that gets sent over open internet protocols.
You should switch to Android and Samsung, because word on the street is that Solana Mobiles, they've partnered with Google. Google is Android.
Yes.
Android is looks like it might be king.
Might be. I mean,
and you're still failing Solana. Pff, get out of here, bro.
Totally, bro. I mean, a lot of Apple users have said we're done. Like a lot of the hardcore NFT heads are like, what? Don't like Coinbase, never have, but you know what? I don't care. I don't like Apple for doing this.
But I'm still going to buy an Apple Mac.
Anyways, on that note, bombshell. You know what? We're still early, guys. We really are still early. You got the biggest company on the planet not understanding something that really is very simple to understand, and you know we're early.
Crazy. Right, ladies and gentlemen, do all that liking and subscribe and stuff. Make sure you subscribe to the newsletter twice a week. On Mondays, it's the Alpha Ape, which is essentially looking backwards on the week of hot tweets. We're also going to be looking at some up-and-coming projects. We'll also look at any important governance reports, because there's a lot of alpha that gets hidden deep inside those governance reports. So we're going to be spending the time just to sift through them, find the good ones that are going to be, just generally useful to you. But subscribe, share it with your family, and if you are going to recommend cryptocurrency to your family this Christmas, make sure it's the Blockmates newsletter.
Yeah, please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that, and we appreciate you guys. We'll catch you next week. Take it easy.
Peace.